How are you, Lesley?
I'm very good indeed. It's lovely to see you again after so long.
Yes, me too, me too. How did it feel not being able to create and work freely because of COVID situation?
Well, I think, this is 2 years ago, and it feels like the longest 2 years in some way. It was there was more of a sense of a sadness, really, because, most of my working life is being with hairdressers.
Yes.
Face to face with hairdressers, seminars with hairdressers or shooting, etc. That was the most difficult thing to get used to. I'm somebody, I'm sure you remember what I'm like, that I'm somebody that always sees the positive, or I look for the positive in everything. And I felt that I managed to learn some new skills, because this room here used to be our office, and we used to have books everywhere and 2 armchairs, and this desktop was always here, but it was more of a sort of chill out space come reading room. And when lockdown started, I'll take these off. When lockdown started, I really needed to change the way that I worked, and through head office, and also really what initiated it was Schwarzkopf USA, was doing sort of interviews on lives, doing seminars on lives, and doing a lot of those Instagram lives. And I really needed to then kind of be able to use this as an office space, come studio, come testing products, come testing color combinations. So all of this has changed. Everything in here now is sort of color based. Even the rug that my partner found for me, that's kind of inspired by graffiti, but something if the color hits the ground is okay. But I now do everything up here. It was really hard. Those first few Instagram lives were frightening. I mean, ridiculous for me to say after all these years, but I found them really, I struggled a bit to start with, because you know what it's like. We're so used to seeing people's reactions, and when you're working with people's reactions, you can see if somebody's really enjoying talking about one thing, and then in which case I go down that avenue and I carry on talking about that. It was very strange talking to a camera.
Just a camera.
Yeah, that was hard, but I think I managed to kind of beat that. And when COVID started, we had literally just finished shooting an Essential Looks, and the lockdown started the week after. We literally shot it. We flew back on the Thursday, and the following Thursday in the UK was lockdown. It was quite lucky. But normally what we would do with Essential Looks is I would go backwards and forwards to Hamburg and, go through the materials. And of course that stopped. And it just meant we all got to know this platform, this Zoom or Teams Invite or any of those platforms has become like a kind of friend, and I've actually met new people just through, this kind of platform. So there's always a positive, always a positive.
Always. And how did you feel about training hairdressers again and personally?
Absolute bliss. It's just incredible. And I think, again, it's more the reaction that you get from the hairdressers, to actually be in a room again with other people. I'm always working with like-minded hairdressers, because you're not going to come to seminars unless you want to self-grow. And so it's wonderful. I'm always meeting passionate and excited, hairdressers. And I remember the very first one that I did was between lockdowns, was last January. And I went to Dubai. They had a hair show, and it wasn't a normal hair show because normality hadn't kind of kicked in yet. And what I had to do when I got back from Dubai was to self-isolate in a hotel by Heathrow Airport. And a lot of friends of mine said, are you mad to have to go and isolate in a hotel, especially those kind of not so fabulous hotels? But I was so desperate to see hairdressers again. And, you know, I didn't actually mind even, you know, the 10-day lockdown in a hotel. I don't know how quick I'd do that again, because it wasn't as, I mean, the job that I did in Dubai was amazing, but being locked in a hotel room wasn't amazing. But I still think that job was worth it, because it was just fantastic to get out again.
The last time you were in Hungary was a lunch of Blonmi. And what are your memories of that visit?
That was fantastic, wasn't it? I just can't believe it's that long ago since I've been to Budapest. I mean, I can't believe it. I remember it really, really well, because I remember we had some amazing models, and the academy is always fantastic, and the team that we have there are incredible. Mm-hmm. And I remember it was just wonderful, because people were blown away by the product and what it actually, you know, the performance of Blonmi. But I remember most vividly climbing up on a chair in the academy and taking a video and some photos of, do you remember, of all the people working and the kind of buzz of everybody, you know, like working with this incredible new product. And I mean, as everyone knows, it's gone on to be the favorite of most people. Great memories, really good memories.
What perspectives does the renewed era give you, the renewed your work?
I think for me, it's a feeling of the sustainability. For me, that's the biggest thing. And I'm very proud that, you know, Schwarzkopf decided to, you know, literally repackage every single thing, and to take that initiative to do that. And I think it was obviously a really good excuse to kind of tidy up the portfolio. And allow some of those colours that we just don't use to go, to allow other colours that we really would love to see to come in. It was really, really interesting. I think there are some countries I've been to who have really understood the importance of why we've done it. And for me, it's the biggest thing, the sustainability. And I think that's something else to come from COVID, is this realization. I mean, COVID, it's not about COVID, but I think everyone had that time to reflect, to realize what's happening to the planet. And thank goodness we are all aware now. I think everybody must be aware, you know, of global warming and how we must look after this beautiful, beautiful planet of ours. So I would say, for me, I would say it's more about the sustainability than the actual colours, because the colours didn't change. I do like the fact that they changed some of the numbers, you know, so our Agora Royal Takeover. So my colours that had a triple digit, and Be Seen's colours and Ross's and Expression Boys, etc. Those colours have gone from a 3-digit tone to a double tone, which is much better because people can understand a double tone much easier. You know, things like D0 moving over to the name of 000. I think it was just a great way to make everything more concise and more easy to, you know, understand. Because, you know, why have a 000 in Vibrance and it be called DO in Royal? It didn't make sense. So I think it was a great time to sort of tidy up everything.
Where and from whom did you learn, and how did you develop your professional skills?
I think I was incredibly lucky that when I trained, which is quite a long time ago, there were a couple of people that trained me who were very, very strong. One woman in particular called Annie Humphreys, who is like the you know, the true colour queen. I mean, she, I was the last, there were two of us and we were the last two that were fully trained by, two fully trained by Annie. Before she did, I mean, she never retired, but she came away from teaching so much. And I thank goodness for that. I think I was very lucky. There was also an amazing man called Tony LeBeau, who was just the best highlighter in the business. Mm-hmm. And I think also I was taught by some very, very strong women. You know, I was at Vidal Sassoon for the first 18 years of my hairdressing life. And it's funny because my mummy and daddy, you know, I've never been aware that being a woman was kind of supposed to be tougher, because my parents, you know, we were always told, my brother and I, that whatever you wanted to do, if you put your heart and soul and you work bloody hard, you can do anything. And I think, you know, coming from that kind of mentality and then going into somewhere like Vidal Sassoon that had so many very strong women, I just think I was probably very lucky, kind of slightly wrapped up in this sort of bubble of fabulous people. So I was taught by some great people, some very passionate people, and I'm always eternally grateful for that. And I think, you know, having the first 18 years at Sassoon's, where it was very, very fierce, you had to know your technique and your hair science inside out, and you had to know all the classics and the basics, yes, really, really well. And this is something I'm very, very passionate about teaching, because you really need to understand those kind of basics to be able to do anything else. All that creative stuff comes from knowing your basics inside out, and knowing sort of hair science inside out, because I always think, you know, if you know that stuff, you shouldn't really be stressing. You know, you should be able to see the end goal and know how to get to the end goal.
Do you like teaching?
I love teaching. I think for me, that's one of, I don't know if it's my forte, but I'm very, very passionate. I keep saying that word passionate, but I am really, really passionate about education, because I think, you know, nowadays there are some great hairdressers around, you know. So if I go to my salon in London, in W1, Billy Curry, fabulous salon, but around me are equally fabulous salons. So unless I'm always sort of upskilling myself, why would somebody keep coming to me when it's probably cheaper around the corner? But it's because I'm thinking of something new for them. I'm keeping them up to date with trends. And, you know, it's not necessary that I'm changing their hair every single time, but it does mean that because I'm keeping myself inspired, yes, absolutely. So I think education for me is probably my favorite thing to do. You know, I love shooting and I love big shows, but my favorite thing is to be with hairdressers teaching. And I love, you know, I love kind of audience participation. I always say, ask me anything, whatever you want to, whatever it is you want to ask, please ask away, because I love to share any kind of thing that I've learned over the last however many years, last 30 years. You know, I want to impart that. I'm not somebody who's kind of selfish with my knowledge. I think that's quite an old-fashioned kind of mentality. I want to just share everything.
Why do you recommend your training to, and what do Hungarian hairdressers learn from you in this class in April?
I think, for me, if I'm totally honest, I think every single hairdresser could come to my class. The way that I teach, I mean, probably not assistants, but anybody that's qualified and knows their hair science and you know, knows some of the basics. And I'm somebody who, when I do classes, I'm not necessarily teaching like the catwalk looks from Essential Looks, because those kind of looks are an image. They're about kind of imparting a bit of excitement and a bit of kind of, you know, how on earth did you do that? What is that? That's really, really strong. That's not the kind of work that I do in my salon. It's about grabbing somebody's attention is catwalk. So catwalk is also like any of the fashion weeks. You know, what those designers show down the runway is not what they show, is not what they sell in their shops, wherever. It's the inspiration. So I very rarely teach catwalk apart from sort of the country managers. So the country managers, I do teach catwalk because then they go to their countries and they roll out these fabulous little you know, shows. However, all the techniques that I show in my classes and my seminars and my kind of shows are salon techniques with a tweak. So I'm not going to show people how to do a tin, and I'm not going to show people how to do a regular balayage, because everybody has that knowledge and does that already. What I will do is give you a trick with an all over color, but making it slightly different with a panel, but very, very quick techniques. A balayage that has something slightly with a tweak that makes you be able to go into your salon the next day. That's really important to me, that the techniques I show, I want that hairdresser to be able to go into the salon the next day and do it on a client that they've done for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 2 years, and be able to offer them something that's slightly different, not out of that client's comfort zone, but there's a tweak that allows them to think, oh, my hairdresser's really, you know, I'm important. You know, this appointment is bespoke just for me. And that I think is really important. It's pointless me showing techniques that are green, pink and blue. You know, I'm just not going to do that. Unless I'm going somewhere where somebody really wants me to teach them that. And then here, when with our seminars, it's exactly the same. It's beautiful, gorgeous techniques. And sometimes I'll show them with a slightly different color palette, but I'm showing, you know, for instance, I might do a pre-lighten base with pale buttercup yellow. But what I will do is showcase how that works on a beautiful beige brown with a soft sort of mushroomy blonde at the front. It's about, sometimes I do it in a very visual way where the color palette is slightly different, but it's always about the technique, and the technique is always salon based.
I think it's perfect. Lesley, it was a lovely interview, and thank you so much.
Me too. I can't wait to see you again.